There's rooms in my house that I have never even set foot in. I experienced that like sort of at my breaking point of my journey when I was dealing with things like chronic fatigue, as I was constantly in just this state of like depression. I suddenly was like, oh, the hill ahead does not look as bad now that I'm not carrying this fucking weight. You do have a responsibility to view life the way you want to. It's a beautiful process to transmute the terrible things that happen to us. You just find people on the internet to move off the internet with.
Throw your stick, no matter how small, onto the fire.
Oh, I love that.
The last podcast I did, we hit record and like the guest, great guy, like totally like tightened up. I was like, and then I was like trying to like get him to loosen up for like an hour, and it really wasn't working. And then I hit the end recording button, and he literally went like this. And I was like,
It's a big part of being a host, is like getting people to feel comfortable and not think about it being recorded. But once you have it in your head, you're sort of nervous. I I would get that. I'm so used to being like so used to doing stuff through the computer these days, talking to people and having meetings being recorded, that I don't think about it as much anymore. But maybe in the beginning, I was like a little more nervous to do stuff like this.
yeah. Well, now you're a nervous system master.
Yeah. Sort of. You know, I was thinking about when I joined NSM and I wanted to go back and see when that was. And that was June 2023, which is really crazy that has only really been about a year and like a half.
Wow, yeah, I thought you were gonna say years ago because you were facilitating the recent course that I did, and you did a great job. So talk to me, like, how did you find NSM? Like, what was life like before that, during that, and after that?
Sure. I think I've been seeking for a long time, like doing a lot of different coursework and certifications and sort of on a healing path for a really long time. And it wasn't until I started discovering the bottom up approach, like the body, understanding the body. And really, when I discovered that we have a nervous system, I was like, wait, what? Like, it's funny because now it's like, no, duh. Like, of course we do. But I really don't think we're taught these foundational skills about getting in touch with ourselves, like our physical form. And it's because I think a lot of time, many of us, when we're on like a healing path or like want to get better or feel better, we go to like cognitive behavioral therapy, like talk therapy. It's like everyone's like, go see a therapist, which I think
Yeah, yeah.
has, a place. But it wasn't until I started getting more familiar with somatic work. I started doing something called EFT tapping, which we can talk about. And I discovered, oh, my body has been in a chronic state of stress, unaware to me, for a very long time. And it has been contributing to, this basically dysregulation that I was just living in for a long time, of feeling like I was very reactionary, or I didn't react at all. Like I was numb, right? Have you experienced that too? Like these sort of like polar opposite experiences?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. No, I want to hear from you. Have you experienced that? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you get really good at expressing emotion, and you're in this sort of like state of numbing, which almost masks as like being quite okay. And then when you start to thaw out and you start reacting to things, and like, I almost wanted to go back. I was like, let me go back to like being totally shut down, but there's not really any going back. Like, so I mean, maybe there is, but I decided to keep going. And yeah, similar to you, I sort of found out about somatic experiencing last year after doing some talk therapy stuff, and that really wasn't resonating with me at all. Well, once I got into the body, I just found out there's so much going on under the surface, and there's a number of revelations for me, like one being that, our brain is just one of our brains. Like, there's neurons in our heart and in our gut, and there's so much there. So I started getting into the body, and I'll tell a quick story. So I was reading this book Body Keeps the Score by Basil Vanderkolk. And then I saw this YouTube video of him talking about healing trauma, and he talked about something called rolfing. And I was like, what the heck is rolfing? So I looked it up, and then another guy recommended it to me. So I was like, all right, I'll just show up and try this. And I found someone in my area who does that. And then I went, and she was also into somatic experiencing, which I had never even heard of. And he ended up guiding me through like a traumatic experience where there was a lot, but anyways, he asked me to like put my attention in between the two bones in my wrist. There's a place called the interosseous membrane, and I'm just like going along with it. And then when I did that, this huge wave of energy like came over me, and I was totally stunned. I was like, we need to stop. Like, I don't know what that. I found like this room in my house that I had like put like all of the shit, and it had just like rotted. And I opened the door, and I just got blasted with all this stuff. And I was just like silent for like 10 seconds, like trying to process what just happened. And I'm like, okay, there are things in this world that I don't know about and that I don't understand.
Yes. And it's one thing to have that awareness about the world at large, but like you said, the world of ourselves, like suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, there's rooms in my house that I have never even set foot in. And that can feel terrifying. And that also can feel extremely liberating. And I think that's where doing Johnny Miller's course, Nervous System Mastery, where Chris and I met, for anyone listening, was so impactful for me, because I started to really put these pieces together of, how you had like that somatic experience. I'd had some different energy medicine experiences. I'd been reading about somatic work for a long time, but it's sort of in nervous system work, but it sort of put it all together because we were actually starting to practice. And that's where you and I met, is in the dojo, which is our little practice hour weekly session where we get to actually do some of this work with other people relationally. And I find that to be, as a facilitator, it's like the best thing in the world. It brings me so much joy to do it, because you get to see people show up, excuse me, show up and have a lot of like, what the fuck am I doing here kind of energy. Like, why did I sign up for this? But there's something, I really believe this. There's a part of them that is guiding them to that place, because there is something to be discovered in this experience of getting to know their body in this intimate way with other people. And it seems so basic. Let's sit here together and tune in to what's happening inside on a physical, emotional, feeling level, right? Really, just the physical part is what I try to always focus on, because how often do we go to, well, there's something, I'm feeling anxious. We don't even really tap into, well, what does that feel like? Where is it in your body? So like this connection of getting to our body just makes life, I mean, it's just so beautiful. I'm so glad that I'm, in my 30s and getting to do this, because if you don't start learning this, I think you walk through life like how we talked before, very numb, disconnected, sort of just like a meat stick, honestly. And I just
It's a
think,
different experience.
yeah. And I think that's sort of, I don't judge other people's experiences for not doing this work, but I think that existence would feel very hard for me personally, to just walk through life without this awareness, although that's double-edged, right? Because the more awareness you have, the greater depth of feeling you have. And that can be difficult, but it's like a beautiful thing too.
I think nothing has changed my life more than going down the rabbit hole of traumatic experiencing with Joe Hudson and with Johnny Miller. Truly, like, it's if you like, this is like actually change. Like, how if you want to like change, like you have to do it sort of at this like root primal level. Like, we think that like our cortex, like our intellectual brain, like runs the show, but like really, it's that primal limbic system that's
Yeah.
totally connected to the body. And so that's like really how you make changes to your experience of life. And so like today, this morning, and really the past few days, I've had so much energy, like so many emotions that I'm enjoying. And I feel like there's like electricity coursing through my body, just so much more than there was maybe 2 years ago. And that's a totally different reality. And so then in my story, the next sort of like shocking experience that I had was listening to Joe on a podcast back in January. through maybe December of last, like basically 1 year ago. And I was like, this guy is super smart, and I always follow smart people. So I went to his website, and it was like, today we're doing a Zoom course, Zoom call open to anyone. I'm like, okay, great, I'll join. And it was a live coaching session. And I was just like jaw dropped. Like this guy is coaching these people through these somatic experiences in front of 100 people, and they're like, he's asking them questions, and they're pulling these answers from God knows where. Like I don't like. And you said something on our dojo that was like such a similar experience that resonated with me. Like, where are these people getting these answers from?
Oh yeah, the first time I actually had a coach that I worked with. Her name's Nicole Brennan, and she did 6 or 9 week like women's coaching course where we did a lot of somatic experiencing stuff, but also like connecting with our higher self and leadership. And it was really beautiful. And she used to do an exercise interception as we were all, it's like a noticing game as we all joined on the Zoom call, similar to what we learned in SM, which is like tuning into the body and just saying, I notice blank. I notice, right now I notice like the bottom of my feet are very sweaty. I'm noticing tightness in my ribs. I'm noticing buzzing in my forehead, right? This is all coming to me very easily because I've been practicing this for a year and a half. But when I first, even before NSM, when I first saw interoception live like that, I was like, what the hell? Where are they? Yeah, where are they getting this? Where is there a script? I was like, wanted to ask people, did someone tell you to say that? Is there like I just didn't get it. It was so interesting to look back. And now I'm like, oh, it's getting out of your own way. There's so much judgment, really, I think, about, oh, I want to say the right thing, or you want to do well in front of other people, maybe, but this process is really just closing your eyes and tuning in and letting whatever shows up show up. And if it is nothing, don't force it. Like you don't have to make it up. That's something I tell the students in NSM. It's okay to not, like, you don't have to create a story. And actually, it's much better if you don't. It's much
Yep.
better to say, I feel nothing.
Yeah. One of my huge takeaways from Joe Hudson and the decision course was he would say, just admit the reality of the situation. And I was like, yes, that's what we're doing here. Like, if you don't feel anything, say the truth. I don't feel anything right now. Like, and then you can go from there. That's a good starting point. And so I started to feel more and more throughout this year. And that's just it's a lot of sensory input, and it's a different way of existing. So I was like, what if, I'm thinking like, what if I don't actually want this? But what Johnny said that made sense to me is like, it's there whether you know about it or not. So you may as well know about it.
Yes. And I don't know if it was in your dojo, but because I taught two different cohorts during this last one. And someone brought up, what if, like, what if something comes up, I'm feeling something and I'm in a moment with my kids or my partner and I don't really want to go there and like feel what's coming up? Is that me just suppressing and pushing it down and essentially not accepting my current state? And I told them, like, here's the thing, like, things come up and you can always put a pin, a metaphorical kind of like, okay, I see you feelings. I'm going to deal with you when I have space to and the capacity to, but I'm in a podcast right now. I can't break down about some childhood trauma, right? So something triggers me, great. I have an activation. I hold it, and then I can bring it back up safely in another situation. And that's something Johnny talks about too, is like, when we are more in touch with what's going on in our inner world, we can create times to deal with it when in safer containers. And so you just have more, we're always looking for control, right? We want to control our emotions, but it's not about controlling our emotions. It's about just creating agency around when you get to explore them. And that's been huge for me because we get triggered in public situations all the time or with family members or relationships where it might not be, time to uncover what's really going on. So you can set that aside and then go back to it. And that's not suppression. That's
Right.
you cultivating more awareness and connection with yourself.
Yeah, I like what you said, like creating agency for when you get to explore those emotions. And like really for me, like turning the corner was uh when I was like, I actually want to, like I'm welcoming it to the point where I'm saying I want to explore this emotion, like I get to experience that, and so different than it was before, where it's just like, and I'm still starting to deprogram from like just auto shut down everything.
Yeah.
But now it's in really not that much time, like relative to like my life. Like I'm like, okay, I identify that. I come up, I can like first save it to experience later. I can opt in if I feel like it.
Well,
Even
we're like, we have we're computers, we have programs, and I think about it like a CD-ROM, like if you remember an old CD-ROM for plugging into a computer, it's like you're putting a new program in. It's going to take time for your current programming to catch up or to dissolve so that you can replace it with this new way of living. And that's fine. Like, I think that's like, okay. We sort of are, a lot of us on this path of healing or spiritual seekers or psychonauts. Like, we want to hurry up and get to a destination, but often it is in this process where that is the juice. That is like what it's about. That's where the healing's taking place. It's not this like far off, okay, I'm going to finally get to being a nervous system pro and I'm going to have it all together. And I'm going to know when I'm in fight or flight and freeze, and I'm going to know how to move through it fluidly. And I'm not going to react and I'm not going to feel this. And no, you're always going to have all of that. And just being present in that now and being okay with where you are now. I think that's where it's like, whoa, that's the light bulb. Yes.
yeah, this is like such an interesting topic to me. It's the transition from the sort of freeze way of being, where you're freezing emotions and you're sort of like just storing them in like this glacier underneath you, and then to get to like a higher emotional fluidity state. Like that's quite the transition. That's like a serious journey to embark on. Like I've done a lot of outward exploration, traveling all over the world, doing crazy stunts, but like that journey is really, it's almost beyond words. It's like it literally is beyond words. It's a traumatic experience. It's quite difficult to articulate even as like a writer. But when it helps so much to like go through it with other people, and like just to have the knowledge of like, okay, now that you're thawing out, a lot of stuff's gonna come up. You're not even gonna know where it comes, like a lot of emotional energy is going to surface. We don't know where it's coming from. You can make up a story and pretend to know, but that's not even necessary.
Yeah, I teach emotional freedom technique, which is EFT tapping. And in my client work, we talk a lot about wounds and how we all have wounding from, some places that we know we have a wound about, some things we don't, and we can't remember, or like our body is protecting us in some way of remembering. And so, we've never been taught to properly clean the wounds of our like psyche or experience. And that's what it's interesting about nervous system work, is that I think part of it is like learning to clean the wounds or at least be open to it. And so like with tapping, like I've seen this happen where people are like, I don't know why I was so triggered about this thing. Like it really doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, there was a wound that you're carrying a wound and you put a band-aid on it for the last 15 years. Something happens that seems like it's not a big deal at all and shouldn't be a big deal at all, but it accidentally touches that old wound. And that band-aid falls out and the wound is worse than it was before. And so now through this experience that we're going to go on together through energy work, even Qigong does this, but like, you know, tapping, somatic experiencing work. Yeah, go ahead.
I think that I have some idea of like the stuff you're talking about, energy work, Qigong, tapping, but I think, probably if anyone's listening, they might know what these things are. Can we like maybe show them or talk about it a little more?
Of course. So EFT is, I like to tell clients, basically emotional acupuncture without the needles. We literally in a session, we tap on meridian points in our body, and that is discharging and making energy flow through our pathways. This is like a blend of modern psychology and ancient Chinese medicine.
Can we
And
do it right now?
yeah, of
Like,
course we can.
like how long does it take? Does it take can we do like a minute or 2 minutes or something?
Yeah, of course we can do some tapping. What do you want to tap on? Is there anything,
Um,
or would you like me to just bring something in? It's up to you.
I'm open to trying anything when it comes to tapping, at least. So let's just do. I'd say I'm a beginner tapper. So let's.
Okay, beginner. Aren't we all? Let's tap on. I've been feeling like, and this might be helpful to anyone listening who, do you procrastinate anything? Are you a procrastinator at all?
Um, Sometimes, yeah. I mean, I think that I have a tendency to do whatever I want. And I do sort of like I just put off this like writing of this article up until the due date, which is today.
Okay, so have you written it today?
I did start to work on it, but I
Okay.
here I am.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, great. So we can do the way I like to start with clients. I don't know if you'll be able to hold your mic, but you can maybe tap with it. I'm not sure. But this is the karate chop point. It's right, if anyone's listening, it's like the side of your, it's where you would karate chop a block. So you're just tapping on the meaty part of your outside of your hand. Yeah. And this is where you sort of create a setup statement for yourself. So you could say something like, even though I haven't finished my article today, and you would repeat this. So go ahead.
Even though I didn't finish my article today.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And make sure you can say that and that it's true. I always tell clients it's okay if you don't feel that way. You could say, sometimes I do, or I want to come to a calm and peaceful place about it, whatever's bringing you distress, because maybe this article's kind of hanging over your head, you know? So say, even though I waited until the very last minute, the last day, I just want to come to a calm and peaceful place and finish it. And then we move to the top of the head and we say, can't seem to get this article done.
Yeah, I seem to get this article done.
I don't know why I'm always waiting so long.
I don't know why I'm always waiting so long.
I'm such a procrastinator.
Such a procrastinator.
I'm so bad at getting stuff done on time. So this is where, let's pause. Let's pause. So in EFT, what's so fascinating about EFT is like we're working, we're focusing on the negative. And this is what's hard about this modality. It's very fascinating. Your subconscious holds things that we're just not aware of, like, and when your brain, I saw your brain go there, you're like, I'm not bad at getting that done. Great. Now we know. Okay. But for some people, they might actually subconsciously believe that they are terrible at getting stuff done. And guess what? That belief is running their life. It's like perfectionists. I work with a lot of perfectionists, and we talk about how I know, and as a recovering perfectionist, I know that if I can't do it perfectly, I just won't get it done. There is some subconscious under the surface beliefs that, like, by even trying, I'm gonna fail, and then I'm not gonna be perfect. And ultimately, if I'm not perfect, I'm not lovable, and I'm gonna die alone forever, right? Like that's how far, right? These extremes do exist. So by
Yeah.
tapping on the negative, what we're doing is we're discharging it. We're bringing it to the surface. It's like what you were talking about earlier about the igloo, right? There's all this, or the ice, the glacier. Yes. There's stuff, all this stuff underneath. So that's what tapping's doing. We're just bringing it to the surface. We're discharging it. It's much easier. We can do a full session, not on a podcast, you and me.
No, that was great. I really appreciate it. Just in that minute there, you can feel the change. And when you say those things and you're doing the tapping, you feel what you're saying in your body much more. And not like I was saying, where reprogramming actually happens.
Yes, and you brought up the limbic system. Okay, this is what's so fascinating about EFT. And when I was in my certification learning about EFT, we talked about the limbic system and how it formed before human language. So it does not listen to you saying,
Right.
"Stop being afraid. Stop, calm down." It doesn't know where the fight or flight lives, your stress response lives. It does not know language. So that's why breath, that's why tapping, that's why qigong, that's why body somatic stuff really gets that part of your brain, right, to pay attention. And like that's how you can connect with your stress response.
This is a really interesting topic that you bring up. I think that parts of your deep brain, your limbic system, do speak a limited amount of English. Like I think you can communicate with basic things like the words "I love you" hit pretty hard, even if you're not tapping, right? Another thing, I think they call it neuro linguistic programming. I was just talking with a writing coach and client who's writing about fear, and I told her that one thing I did with when I was a mountain bike coach and we were about to, ride our mountain bikes down a big mountain with and someone's new to this, I can see that they're starting to feel fear in a resisted way, and like they're clenching, they're shallow breathing, they're tight, and I would say, "Are you excited?" And they would say, "Yes, I'm excited." I would say, "Yes, you're very excited. We're so excited right now." And they sort of stop resisting and "Oh, I am excited. My heart is racing for good reason." Right. And so then we reframe that. So I think language can help, but it's another tool. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's awesome about the building blocks of the nervous system mastery course we both did was really about, oh, could anxiety also have the exact same feeling in my body as excitement? Like when I feel anxiety in my body, I now notice because I've been doing this work for a while, I'm like, oh, wait, that also is how excitement feels. Or like falling in love can also feel like being totally afraid, right? And I think people can, when we put stuff in terms of like love and relationships, I think people are like, oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's what this work of tuning into what's happening in our body on a moment to moment basis can be so important because then you're on a mountain bike and you go, yeah, yes, this could be fear, but this also could be like exhilaration for doing the
Yeah.
damn.
You can transmute it, and it it's like, well, how do you do that? There's different ways, but in some ways it's pretty easy because you just stop resisting. I guess it's easier said than done, but it's like dropping a hot frying pan. Like it's an undoing, and that was a key insight for me. Credit to Joe Hudson for telling me that emotions feel different resisted than unresisted. And so this person I was talking to, shout out to Emily, I was like, "How do you feel fear in your body?" And she's like, "Tension, tightness, shallow breathing." Like so, what that is resistance to the fear. What does the fear feel like unresisted? And she said, "I have no idea."
Yeah. Most of us
And
don't.
yeah.
Yeah. I like what you're saying about this resistance because I don't know if it was Joe or someone who came and talked at Johnny's mastery course, but they sort of said that the actual time of an emotion is like 90 seconds or less. Like,
Yeah.
but the
Mhm.
resistance is what keeps it prolonged. And because it's funny, like we don't want to feel it. So we're like, don't feel it, don't feel it. But then that lasts like forever. But if we just allowed ourselves to feel it, we would see that the emotion actually, that feeling, that sensation actually quickly moves to something else.
Mm. Yeah. Reflecting on my own experience of life and like having overwhelming emotions at times where I didn't have the nervous system capacity, the tools, any sort of ability to metabolize those energies. They sort of were there for a decade or more, and then it's like, okay, well, you have this sort of like mountainous load of debt, and it's like you can sort of have like cathartic experiences, which that's cool, but I think it is probably a good way to go slow with it and process it, sort of depressurize like slowly rather than like all at once, right? So that's sort of around it. So
Yeah, I often tell people that your nervous system is very smart. That's why it has been handling life the way it has so far. It's brought you to fight or flight to protect you and save you. And we can honor that. We love, like, the process is to not get rid of the fight or flight or the freeze. Those things are there to save us, to protect us. And I think your nervous system will know when a good time is for you to explore different depths. And it's not going to suddenly be like all of it right now, everything you've gone through, like release. And like you said, there are cathartic experiences. I've sat with a lot of plant medicine and I've done, psychedelic treatments. And so those containers can open up in ways that, a regular Tuesday wouldn't be exploring at that depth, right? But I think your nervous system really does meet you where you're at. And you're not going to necessarily, it might be surprising, but I think you will be able to handle whatever's coming up at any moment. And that's what I try to give people, that confidence to be like, oh, okay, I'm not going to just be like blindsided by something. Maybe it is surprising that it's coming up, but I have the capacity. My nervous system is ready to process this. And that's always given me a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. And like once you have, I guess, some basic tools, like probably one of my favorites is just snaking.
Yeah.
You do that? Can we do that?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm like,
Shake for a bit.
yeah, let's shake for a bit. I would love to. I had to get a full body shake. Yeah, I work in tech. I work in in a 9 to 5. I do all this other healing work. And what's so fascinating to kind of bridge like a world that doesn't do this kind of stuff, right? Like when I'm working in technology and working with incredibly smart people, but they're just so focused on output. And there's moments where I'm like, can we just like pause and all collectively shake? And now I'll have, and people at first were like, what? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then people realize, wow, just a cup, we barely did that for 30 seconds. I have new breath. I'm more
Ah,
present.
so great.
Yeah, you just feel great. And I think that's a just fascinating thing that's kind of collectively people are waking up to these, little, it's not even a big thing, but how can we bring this into spaces where this would be like weird and start to normalize it? And I think that's happening. Like even in Johnny Miller's course, like it's a lot of people who are not just spiritual seekers. And, there are quite literally so many different types of people who are interested in this now, which I think a couple years ago maybe wasn't the case. It was like, oh, more of like breathwork people and healers and teachers, which is amazing. We need all of them. And I'm one of them as well. But we also want like the mom and the CEO
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
whole teacher and people like just so that this information can spread to all different types of communities and people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like I was just on a call with Joe the other day, and he said that he just came from a meeting with Alphabet, one of the Google companies, and he was just working with them on, various somatic practices and some of the key insights he provides people. And it's like, a lot of jobs these days are very mental. It's around like it's not you don't have to be an automaton, just like moving one thing to another spot. Like a lot of times in tech, in creative jobs, knowledge work, call it whatever you want, like cognitive performance is key. And like having these as a writer, like having just a somatic experience can lead to like a key insight or a brilliant sentence or just energize me to keep going with a project. And so
Yeah,
I'm stoked on it.
you're priming your brain for flow. Like that is quite literally what you're doing toward like to breaking up, getting into your body allows you to be more creative. It's just true. I believe that as a basis thing of my life. I notice that when I take time to not just get still, but maybe move around or breathe in a different way and like interrupt the pattern that I've been in all day, that's when boom, big idea comes through or new way of being or I'm like, oh, I'm ready to write the thing. It's like if we can learn those pattern interruptions and start doing them throughout the day, we notice that we have more focus and we can do the things we want to do. It's so fun.
Have you heard of the vagus nerve?
Yeah, I have. What do you
Yeah,
want to talk?
I'm like, I don't know, I'm all about the vagus nerve. Like, I think the nervous system is like just so underrated in the modern healthcare traditional legacy landscape. Doctors don't talk about the nervous system, which is kind of crazy. it's sort of like the software of our body. Most of them are really focused on the hardware, but they're upgrading or changing the hardware without paying attention to the software. I mean, that's silly. So, anyways, yeah, I started doing like vagus nerve stimulation, which I was already doing with humming, with different yoga stretches, but anyways,
My favorite,
they're
the Vu
oh,
hum breath.
oh yeah, that was like
That is my
heck
go-to
yeah.
everything.
All right.
You want to do it? Shall we?
Yeah, I want to do it.
Okay,
You want
cool.
to tell any listeners what we're doing?
Yeah, so do this with us if you're listening. It's called the Vu hum breath. And just like Chris was saying, it stimulates the vagus nerve. I feel like it's a complete reset for me. So like it's great to use when you're feeling maybe like super activated before a meeting, before you have to go do public speaking. Yeah, like it kind of just settles everything, I feel. Do you feel that way too, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can put both feet on the floor. That's typically what I like to do, have a straight up spine. And what you're going to do is take a full deep breath into your belly. And as we exhale out, we're going to actually say out loud "vu," and then through that exhale, we'll end up saying hum. So you can follow Chris and I. I hope it might be a little funny on recording, but we're just going to go for it. So big inhale in. Huh?
Um,
Yeah, and you just want to, as long as you can, feel that buzzing in between your lips when you the hum. I think that's really important. Let's do one more. Big inhale in.
okay. Wow. Feels good. Yeah, I like that a lot. I feel it in my spine, which is just so fun. Um,
Yeah, it's great. That's a really good one. And some people do, there's different variations of it, which is cool. I think that's the most basic one, but some people just do vu and they don't do the hum. Some people hold the breath before they do the vu. I mean, there's lots to play with.
yeah, there's lots to play with, and I think what humming does is you stimulating your neck and the vagus nerve. It's the central nerve that connects the limbic system to the entire body, and it runs through both sides of your neck. So last year, I listened to a podcast and I heard about vagus nerve stimulators from a doctor who is using that as a tool with his patients, and you can just buy it. It's over the counter. I bought the one he recommended, it's called Truvaga. Just to experiment, see what changes happen, and it's just like this little device that stimulates the side of your neck. And I found that it helped me with stomach aches and with migraine prevention and with just, you know, feeling good and preventing unnecessary anxiety.
Wow, that's so interesting. I haven't done much exploration with that, but I'll have to check it out. Very cool.
Yeah, I think that like if your nervous system is scrambled and dysregulated, it's just going to be really, really hard for your body to heal from whatever disease you have. Like if you have hormone problems or whatever it is, immune system problems, like if your organs can't communicate well, like how is anything going to work?
Yeah, and it's unfortunately it's like a loop. The more you're dysregulated, and because you're dysregulated, you make more choices that end up making you more dysregulated because you couldn't have the capacity to make better choices, whatever that looks like. And so then you're in this, constant state of distress. And I experienced that like sort of at my breaking point of my journey when I was dealing with things like chronic fatigue and just like as I was constantly in just this state of like depression. It was just like terrible. And because I couldn't care about what was happening, I made, choices that weren't great for me either, whether that's leaning on substances or, just doom scrolling, which I think a lot of people deal with, or being on their phone or technology. You're just already so numb. It's like, what's the point? Like anything that we're just sort of like wanting to not deal with it, not look at it. And so we go to things to make us feel better that make it worse, honestly.
Yeah, at some point, like you just bottom out, and yeah, like when I bottomed out, I was just sort of like lost the ability to function very well at all. I was like, I can't do anything really with like just everything's just like torture. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna like? How do I proceed? Like, like I sort of like realized like I sort of have two options. Like I can't go on like that. So it's like like do I just like kill myself or do I like figure this out? And I was like, well, I'm just gonna shoot my shot figuring it out. And you don't have to figure it out right away. Like it can take a while. It might take a few years, you know. I gave myself 6 years. I said in 6 years I'm gonna be a totally different person.
I love
And
that.
so yeah, I'm
How
like
many years has it been?
I'm 3 years in.
There you go. And you're probably a completely different person already.
I'm pretty dang different, Reaper.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a teacher who was very influential for me. And she told me one day in a session, she said, why don't you just put the backpack down? Just put it down. Like everything you're carrying, everything that's happening to you, just like it's all in this backpack that you've been carrying for so long. And once you put that, it's interesting because like our perception of our life or the road ahead of us, if we're looking at a hill, the heavier the backpack, the steeper the hill, right? It just is that way. The hill has not changed. The backpack you're carrying changes your perception. And so once I put the backpack down and just accepted that all of this shit had happened to me, I had been carrying a lot of guilt and shame and, grief, like a lot of grief for my life and different things that had happened to me. And I just sort of, in that moment, she brought me through an experience of doing that, of actually what it would feel like to put the backpack down. And I did. And there was a release. It wasn't like my whole life got better that day, but I suddenly was like, oh, the hill ahead does not look as bad now that I'm not carrying this fucking weight. And now I have to deal with still the backpack is mine and it's there on the ground, but it feels a whole lot better not carrying it on my back. And I think that was like a big lesson for me of like every day, what are you putting in your backpack? What are, you do have a responsibility to view life the way you want to. It is up to you. Of course, think bad things happen to us, challenges happen to us, and it sucks. And I don't love that. But now you get to figure out how you want to approach it and look at it. And it's like you said, reframing and, transmuting it. It's a beautiful process to transmute the terrible things that happen to us. It's the path of the sacred warrior that we're all here to do. I really believe that, it's part of waking up. So yeah, put the backpack down and then see if you can live another 6 years because we need you here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, there's a few like critical things for me that I had to internalize, which is like, one, you're not fucked forever.
Yes, you're not fucked
That's
for.
that's a trap that is pretty easy to fall into, and so I guess like I was like, well, I'm going to change like one way or another. Like our cells turn over, right? And so that's where I got the 6 years from. Was I read that every 7 years, like you're a different set of cells or something. I was like, all right, well, I'll just look forward to that, I guess. And then the other thing that I think a necessary component of transformation is releasing the tiller, which I read in the book. Is it's sort of just saying surrender. Like if you're clenching, crying, this is all on you to fix yourself. Like it's gonna stop, and it's not gonna work. You already
Mhm.
sort of give up and become whoever you become. And
Yeah.
yeah, for a lot of that's faith for a lot of people. That's what that
Yeah.
word means.
Often yeah, faith, exactly. My dad always told me when you're struggling or suffering with something, go help someone who's struggling and suffering with that thing, and you will find the healing for yourself. And I very much appreciated that
Yeah.
perspective.
On the calendar, I start to think about like the things that I want to say and like well, and then that like really stimulates a lot of like fun thought rabbit holes for me. So I've been thinking about riptides a lot because last year I went to the beach and my buddy and I got swept out to sea in a riptide, and
I'm laughing, Chris, because I read your story about being in Costa Rica, like your latest Substack.
amazing.
And I'm laughing. Keep going, but I'm it just reminded me of the story that you wrote about of being out in the ocean there. Anyway, keep going.
Thank you for blogging acceptable.substack.com. Check it out. A great story. So yeah, that really happened. Last year we got swept out, and what you're taught to do is to surrender to the riptide and let it take you out. Don't panic, and then it'll sort of move you down the beach, and then you can swim back in a different spot. I didn't do that. I panicked, and realized that we were getting swept out on a riptide. I felt the water at my feet going out instead of in toward the beach, and I called my friend who didn't realize it, but he couldn't hear me because of the waves, and so he like, "We're so far out." But I was able to just muscle through and like just swim for, I was swimming super hard, and I was like, I'm gonna not make it because I'm like going too hard. Like I'm panicking. So I just relaxed and swam sort of lightly, and someone sort of like pulled me in, which is awesome. Shout out to that random person. But yeah, from my friend who's, thank God, a really strong swimmer, and starts swimming back, and we're all standing there yelling like, "Go that way" to get out of the riptide, but his brain is just so laser focused on going straight to the beach. Anyways, so riptides are like pretty ingrained in my mind as like a metaphor to use for different things. But I think it's sort of a good metaphor for like a difficult experience, like a depression that can come up, and like you're sort of swept out in this sort of depression, and if you resist, like you can get stuck there. I always think of it as like dropping into a valley. Like if you don't resist, you sort of go in and then you come out. But if you resist, you can sort of lose inertia and you like stuck at the bottom. And then you get into like the I'm trapped, I'm fucked forever mindset. And then that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I have a lot of experience with going in and out of depression. So I'm getting pretty good at it.
You're learning how to use like go in and go out. Yeah, I resonate with the riptide experience a lot. I think I think a lot of our own suffering comes from just that resistance of the experience, or like trying to muscle our way through something and just realizing like, oh, I could just relax into this. You know, I've gone through some pretty gnarly heartbreaks and relation. I am a big lover girl, and I love romance. I just love love. And the flip side of that is, okay, well, when you really open yourself up to having deeply intimate, beautiful relationships with someone, you are opening yourself up to a world of hurt. And if we muscle through a heartbreak, like I don't want to fucking deal with this. Like I've got to get to the beach, right? What ends up happening is we might end up at that beach, but we're exhausted, we hate ourselves, we're still sad about the breakup, whatever, right? But if we just like go with the riptide of it, I think yes, it's gonna be hard, but like just letting that grief wash over you day in, day out of missing that person, of wishing it could have been different, whatever, just allowing those experiences. That's been so big for me. Like every time I cry, I'm just like, just let it out. Just cry like there's no tomorrow. And then I'm like, oh, I feel so much better instead of resisting it and being like, I should be over this or whatever. Right. And so I kind of think about that a lot with that specific experience in my life, just letting the process happen of
Yeah.
grief or sadness.
So one thing that I've seen myself doing just in the last few weeks is not only allowing but actually welcoming, like actively and like wanting. Have you experienced that at all, or like
Or
yeah.
I think I think a lot of my ceremonies with ayahuasca have been about that. Have been about I am arriving here and welcoming the shadow, and I am open to experiencing the depths of my soul and this experience. And that was very terrifying. And now it's sort of like a remembering almost, or a coming home. It's like realizing that we have such a short, limited time here in this form. And I am a spiritual person. I believe, there's a soul in all of us, and there's over souls, and there's a bigger soul. And we're kind of, I am you, you are me, we are mirrors to each other. And we get this opportunity to be in this form and feel all of these things. And then so like let's feel it. Let's do it. And so like that's sort of the welcoming that I've arrived to, but it's been a long process. I used to feel a lot and have a lot of shame for feeling a lot. As a kid, I was told you're too much, stop crying, like not by my parents per se, but I think when we see heavy emotions, like big emotions from kids, we're like, calm down or, be less. And so we're kind of taught to not feel. And then as adults, we're in situations like this and someone's like, oh, you want to heal? Feel. And you're like, what the fuck? I mean, I thought to live and be in this life, you told me not to feel. Don't be too big. And then, as you get older, I think especially in my 30s, I'm like, oh no, how can I be the biggest expression, my highest expression, and not give a fuck what anyone thinks, especially myself? Because by doing that, right, like I'm creating energy and my life force is getting stronger and I'm getting to meet people like you and like all the good things of life are happening. But when we don't welcome it, right? When we don't welcome these big feelings, even if they're scary, that's when we get stuck and we're limited and yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I think that like I shut down like strong feelings at really such an early age that I can hardly even remember at this point. Like I can probably conjure up some incidences where I probably learned to do that, but it's like I don't really trust those memories even. So it's like, and who even cares? Like somehow I learned to just really shut down, like because I was having big feelings, I'm big energy, and I know that only now, 20 plus years later, I'm like I just like I'm dancing like crazy all the time, like. Oh, this is like being suppressed for a long time. That's why I felt like I was gonna fucking explode. And I was not fine. I was like, what do I do? Like, and you're trapped in that vicious cycle of feeling like you're gonna explode, and then you clench more, and then you feel more like you're gonna explode, so you clench more, and now like as I'm very comfortable channeling energy and emotions and moving my body in especially in front of people, it's like the really next level. And like I go to a wedding and people are like, wow, like you're so good at dancing. And I'm like, I don't even know one dance move. I couldn't even teach you a single thing about dancing. I'm just like going kind of crazy and it resonates with people.
I mean, some of my first healing experiences, spiritual experiences were in clubs. I love music. I travel to see music. I love the club. I love the scene. I love going out until 5 in the morning dancing. And those are my first experiences of somatics. When I think back to what saved me in my early 20s, it was going out late, being in a dark club, having people around me who just didn't care. They were moving their body. They were in touch with what was going on and they were expressing, and it was so liberating for me. And then now, going and sitting in an ayahuasca ceremony and people doing ecstatic dance or singing and not caring about what their voice sounds like or moving their body, I'm like, oh, these are connected. This is all connected. We're just doing it in different ways.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I recently had an ecstatic dance experience, so that like resonates with me big time.
It's kind of funny, huh? What was it, the first time that you did it, or were you like what was your experience of it? I'm curious.
Yeah, and so it was in Costa Rica. It was on that retreat that you read about, and so we're in the top of this like Hindu castle on this hill overlooking this beach. Three of the walls are glass, so you're already in this amazing room. And then we had the dance at night, so it was like just sort of getting dark, and they kept the light really low. It was like all the lights were sort of on the floor. There's sort of like all these like electric candles all over the place, and it was very dark. You could see sort of who people were, but not really, which is like sort of a very cool element for me. It was like somewhat anonymous, and so the EJ was great, and she was like really facilitated like just an incredible traumatic experience, and they sort of like sort of toward the end like it's hard to even for me to articulate everything that happened. It's all like coming back now, but we like partnered up and we're sort of dancing for a bit, and then they would sort of give us like suggestions for like how to like move, like walk like you're in like New York City going down Main Street or something, and like people were so into it. It was like really cool to see, and like you don't see that side of adults like almost ever in regular American life. Like so for me, like one of the younger people there, to see all these people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, like we're talking about like executives at corporations, and they're just like so crazy. I'm like, this is so fun, you know. And then, you know, at the end, we all sort of like lie down and do like a rap together on the floor, like. So it's like a totally different world. It's
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
I'm like totally into like ecstatic dance. That's totally something like I want to include like when I host events for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a great way of transitioning between when you're at a retreat or an event or, multi-day experience of some sort. The ecstatic dance sort of like a bridge of like moving from like one place of the retreat to the next. It's really nice. It's just nice to like include it. It gets people in their bodies. Gets people laughing and feeling that kid energy
Yeah,
again. Like, why am I so serious?
exactly.
Why am I walking through the world so like a hardo? Why
Yeah.
can't I like let it go and let it rip and move my body in a way that makes, it's not that I'm judging or thinking about anyone else. Usually when I'm laughing at a ecstatic dance, because I'm like looking at myself being like, what am I doing? This is so silly. And then it's like, okay, what, like, then you're moving. I feel like you go on a freaking roller coaster in your own mind of like, moving and being like, okay, I'm moving funny, but is it funny? And why do I think that's weird? And then an emotion might come up. Like I've had releases of crying so much at a ecstatic dance experience. That was like so surprising to me. I couldn't believe it, but it was like something opened up and I just had this like release. And then 5 minutes later, I was laughing my head off. It was like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah. The so I was gonna like pause for like a few seconds to like let all the thoughts settle.
Mhm. Yeah, take a moment.
I mean, it sounds cliche, but like dancing is an extremely powerful medicine. Like it really, really is. It's actually studied. One of the studies I looked at was effective treatments for depression, and dancing was the number one thing by far. It was like dancing, and then 10 other things, and then SSRIs were like barely beneficial. It was like wow. So
So
yeah, I would say sarcastically, like the cure all is like dancing like crazy. No doctor will tell you that.
yeah, I mean, I see it. I go to festivals and I I go out to the Burning Man and I do different experiences where dance is a part of it and I see it in people. I see that it's healing. Just recently went and saw Pretty Lights. They're like a DJ collective that they're on tour right now. They're just wrapping up. I went and saw them 3 nights in Florida. And it was the most healing conscious space I've been in a really long time. It blew me away. And I think when you combine the right frequency of sound and when you're creating like a space of people who are willing to just let go and be there and dance their ass off, you're like, there's a big like thing happening and the energy is like palpable. And you're like, whoa, we're actually upgrading right now. Like we are actually healing people by just all doing this together. I wish they could study. I mean, there's probably studies around group dance, but I think that's why, like rave culture, you go and see people, in EDM music. Like, why do they do this? I think they're trying to heal themselves. I think they found something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So like collectively in our society, we've shifted in the last 100 years towards much more of a prescription drugs way of doing things. I remember reading about like Greek doctors, Roman doctors, and like reading their prescriptions is so fascinating to me. It's like, oh, you have this problem, you need to go spend a lot of time at the ocean. And
Yes.
you need to go on a ship voyage and like drink milk and this and that. And I'm like, wow, like I've never heard a doctor say anything remotely close to that ever. But sounds correct and it checks out scientifically. I'm like really into biochemistry, and when you're walking around at the beach in the shallow ocean, you're actually breathing in the ocean air, and that's giving you minerals, and it's vitalizing your nervous system, which has all kinds of systemic effects. So I think we're circling back to that, hopefully.
You too.
With
Oh, I know we are. We are. We are. People are starting
and
to get fed up with taking the pills too. I think people are realizing that it's just, a band-aid for what really needs to be addressed.
yeah, and it's simply not that effective, at least in my experience. But one interesting thing that I learned about this year is that the tax code actually has a definition of medicine that is anything that a doctor prescribes. It's not a drug. Medicine does not equal drug, but that's ingrained in our psyche just from cultural conditioning. And so there's actually a company called TrueMed run by Callie Means, who is an amazing person. And what they do is they facilitate the spending of healthcare savings account on like non-pharma products. So that could be organic food or a gym membership or whatever it is, whatever the doctor prescribes. We're totally circling back to an approach that actually works.
Yeah. When I do plant medicine work, people are always like, medicine, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, plants are a medicine. There's of course, we can think of them having medicinal properties, but also working with a plant, communing with a plant's consciousness can give you some sort of medicine, whatever that is, whatever you need. It's almost like I think the earth can prescribe us, like how the ocean gives you certain things from being a part of it, being communing in it, connecting with it. And the more we do that with the earth, I think we're going to realize that we can save ourselves and the planet. It's all here for us, And I think we've just gotten so disconnected from that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And you just sound so much like Tommy Rosen, who I did the retreat with. Like the fundamental ailment, he's really an expert in addiction recovery. And the fundamental problem is not necessarily the substance, but that disconnection in your body, in your nervous system, and with the world. And so that's what he addresses.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that so much. I was gonna say that would love to hear what you are looking forward to in 2025 or like at the end of the year. And I'm curious if you have any, I don't really like to say goals or resolutions, but intentions. I would love to hear what you're intending for this next year.
Mm, thank you for the prompt. I haven't yet sat with that as we usually do as the year comes to a close. But I will say the one thing that's been top of mind coming out of this recent retreat that I did, meeting fantastic people, thinking about the next retreat that I want organized for 2025. We might even do two, but we're definitely doing one in the spring, and just getting the team organized for that and getting the invites out and thinking about the stuff we want to do and like the energy I want to bring into that. I think I'm going to call it True Wealth Weekend because I've come to the conclusion that true wealth is nervous system health.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's one of my intentions for 2025, to give it my best shot, bring that together and really just keep going. I'm writing a book called Keep Going. I'm letting the book write me. Um, so I'll pass that over to you. Do you have any intentions?
Well, I wanted to say about you giving hosting retreats a shot. I was thinking about this the other day, how we sort of I think sometimes we play small because we see other people doing big things and we go, they got it. Like that's already being done. Or like someone else already wrote a book that's sort of like mine. Or, we have we're just like, I don't, we don't know where to like insert ourselves maybe sometimes. And I'm not saying that's you, but to anyone listening who is considering doing something new this year, but is afraid that it's already been done, I think we each carry our own unique like quality that is needed in the world. And the more everyone does their part, we're going to create this beautiful fabric where like we actually awaken, the world and save the world in ways that we can't explain. So like we can't hold back. Like that's what I'm keep Spirit keeps telling me for 2025 is just encourage people to not hold back anymore. Just like go out and do the fucking thing you want to do, whatever that is. Just do it. Stop holding back. So that's sort of my intention. And so I'm excited that you're doing the retreats. So if you're like, maybe we should do two, yes, do two. Don't hold back. And I too, I'm working on a book and I have been for a while. And I would really love this year to not hold back so much on it. It's a collective built guide. So it has a collaborative part of it that I need to spread the message more to get more people to be a part of it. And that has been a blocker for me. I think to really be seen and put yourself out there, even when people aren't telling you they're seeing it. You know, it's like you doing the podcast, you do it, you put it out. People don't talk like it's just, it's your commitment to it. And then eventually it'll compound and suddenly it'll be like, whoa, everyone, like so many people are listening. How did that happen? It's like because you're committing to the showing up of the thing. And then
because
you
I had
guys,
Tess Allen on.
no, but I'm just saying, like, you know, I think that's something I want to work on in 2025 is be okay with the process of doing things that aren't noticed or doing things that don't feel like there's a result and staying consistent because you care, because you want to, because it feels good, because you're passionate about it. No other reason. And just know that it's like the investment is going to compound over time.
Yeah, the doing part of it is why I do almost everything I do. Like if you're doing a podcast or writing a book to get money or listeners, like you're not going to be doing it for very long. I'll tell you that.
No. No, and that's
Um,
for all things in life, I think.
and but what you brought up is so true. What's true for me for a long time. You have an idea, you know, maybe you want to write or you want to make videos, podcasts, and oh, someone's already doing that. That's really just an excuse. Like if someone's already doing it, it means it's working, and
Yes. Yeah.
therefore that's people like it, they like doing it,
There's
and
a
then
great about
yeah,
there's a great story about the coffee shop Alfred's in LA, which is huge now. The guy who started it, he sells Starbucks and he was like, Starbucks is everywhere. I should make another, like people love this. I should make it something else like this, but better. And people thought he was crazy. People were like, no one wanted to invest in it because they're like, it's already being done. He's like, that's exactly why it should be done because people are already love it. It's proof
yeah,
that there needs to be more of it. And now it's probably, I'm sure I don't even know what their revenue number is. They have all Alfred's coffee all over LA. They do
oh yeah,
partnerships with celebrities, you know, they're huge.
no, absolutely. Anytime you do something, you're going to infuse your own flavor into it, and it will evolve into something that's different than what already that's it's so true, and I want people to know that like take inspiration from other authors, other creators, other entrepreneurs. Um, that's the way the world is. We build on each other. Like I'm standing on the shoulders of a billion ancestors right now. Like I'm not even claiming credit, right? It's like it's just a beautiful thing to create, and the whole process is it's just so much fun. Like it's it's like who it's very much who I am. I think that's like all for a lot of humans that's true probably. Like we are creating
Yeah,
beings.
we are all creators and artists. Just we have a lot of us have lost that uh we've been programmed. We've been, you know, there's a lot of conditioning.
Yeah.
People just don't want to get in touch with that part of them for whatever reason,
The other thing that create
you know.
the other thing creators face today is like there's so much on the internet. So many books, photos, videos, everything. There's so much, but like what I say is this: throw your stick, no matter how small, onto the fire.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna take that with me. That's beautiful. Yeah, I would agree. And I also think people are starting to move off the internet in a funny way, but
Mm.
you just find people on the internet to move off the internet with. So it's still worth it to put yourself.
Yeah, hang out.
Yeah, of course. But you know, it's like I think that's what's cool. I just met an internet friend. Oh my gosh, one of my friends on TikTok actually. I create videos on TikTok and we met through there and we just had lunch and it was so funny because I feel like it was like, of course, obviously we're friends, but we met on the internet and I think it's like how I met you. There's so many different groups that happen and I only have met those people because I decided to like put myself out there, put myself in situations and that's a beautiful thing. So it's like just doing it.
Yeah, yeah. So it totally changed my life. I'll tell this story 100 times. Like I read authors that really inspired me, Jed McKenna, Mike Ma, and I'm like, okay, I want to be with these guys, and I'm gonna do what they did. So I started writing a book. I started putting my writing out there to the world, and I started from a place of having no online community and almost no in-person community. And 2 years later, I have tremendous amount of those. Totally changed my life. And I get to meet people like you. I like just from writing and sharing, like you get to know me. I get to know you. You're a writer as well. Tess has a Substack. Check it out.
Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. I think too it's a part of expression. I see one side of it. I see the world that, you know, it is a creator economy and the more you create this personal brand, more opportunities and money and that's great. But also like you said, if you're just doing it for that, it's going to be hard. Um or eventually you'll burn out and realize that's not the life you wanted anyway and you got what you didn't really want from the experience. And so, like, I have to check myself often. I'm like, why am I writing? Oh, because this is on my heart to share. And I just want to share and I want to express. And this is a part of my process. I think even in the writing I do, sometimes it doesn't need to make sense from I used to think about it like, would this sell or like, would people like, you know what I mean? And now I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't
people are
care.
craving authenticity. Yeah, and that's like ultimately, I think what people are craving right now is just authenticity, and like they don't necessarily want to be sold something that sort of cookie cutter formula.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
wow, this has been a beautiful podcast.
Yeah, I talked to you forever. This has been great. Thank
I
you. Of
know. Can we do this again?
course, of course. I'd love to. It's been really nice to hear too, I think you bringing your own perspective of experiencing these things. It's so much less of an feeling interviewed, but really like a collective sharing of both of our sides. And I really love that. So I'm so happy that you bring your own voice into these and your stories.
Yeah. How can people reach out to you? Where can they see more of you? You have a beautiful website, by the way.
Oh, thank you so much. I had amazing people who have helped me cultivate that. My website's testdoingthings.com because I do like to do a lot of things. You can find me there. You can email me at hello at testdoingthings.com. You can read my Substack. I think it's tessallen.substack.com. And yeah, reach out and go take Johnny Miller's nervous system mastery that Chris and I did. I think
Yeah.
there's a new cohort coming up in the spring. And, I was a student in that and then I became a facilitator. So it's a beautiful space. And you have access to it forever. The community is amazing. I met a lot of great people like you. And
Yep.
so
Thank you. Yeah. So
I,
many good people.
opening up more facilitation opportunities, Chris. So if you liked how I led the dojos and you could see yourself doing it, I would highly recommend going through that as well because it deepened my nervous system work just by becoming a facilitator was like masterclass. And then it was like life-giving to do it, but also gave me so much insight onto my experience as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I highly recommend Nervous System Mastery course as well. We will put a discount code in the description. Pat did an amazing job facilitating. You have a beautiful voice for these guided meditations. It gives people a sense of like what we're actually doing, like on the calls for the course. Like one thing we're doing is guided audio meditations on Zoom with other people. And so I remember Took a good time. Was there a name for that exercise that we did? Do you
Yes.
remember the one I'm talking about?
It's
Eight,
called
right? Wait,
awareness,
awareness,
posture,
emotion.
emotion. Yeah.
uh,
Emotion.
yeah,
Actually have a couple. I wonder if we could put in like one of the meditations I've done. You can put it in a file
yeah,
or we
we'll
can
do that.
but I'm happy to share that with people who listen. Um,
Yeah, I was so happy because like the audio is so great on that Zoom call. And I remember after I was like, oh, I wish we were recording, and we were recording. And then Ocean pulled the audio from that recording and sent it to everybody in the WhatsApp group, and I probably listened to it like 4 times already. So
oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, you're more than welcome to share that. And if I haven't re-listened to it, but I bet I can make one even better because I love pushing myself.
yeah, I just keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Chris.
All right.